Alphonse, Ali Shades Malangone, born December 2, 1936, is a New York City mobster and former coup regime in the Genovese crime family, headed by Vincent Gigante. Malangone controlled the Genovese interests in the Fulton fish market, as well as being involved in pump and dump stock scams on Wall Street, and controlling Brooklyn's garbage hauling industry. He was a central figure in the book Takedown: The Fall of the Last Mafia Empire, ISBN 0-425-19299-7, an autobiography by NYPD officer Rick Cowan, who went undercover for several years in the commercial garbage industry, posing as a family member of Brooklyn Garbage Company and eventually gaining access to the garbage cartel's organization, the Kings County Trade Waste Association. Cowan describes Malangone as the cagiest and most relatable of mobsters he dealt with. He got his nickname for always wearing aviator-style tinted sunglasses, even at night. Early days. Ali Malangone was born and grew up in Brooklyn, New York. He was inducted into the Genovese crime family in the mid to late 1970s. He worked under Thomas Conaldo and Gaetano Marino. He was also an associate of Vincent Romano and Carmine Romano, who worked with Joseph Lanza to control the Fulton fish market in downtown Manhattan. Malangone went to work in the fish market and soon he began accepting payoffs from vendors and trucking companies, and continued to run his own fish company with his son, Alphonse Malangone Jr. and Frank Malangone. Promotion. As he rose through the ranks of the Genovese crime family, Malangone became one of the family's biggest earners and most respected members, and began to associate with men from all five families. Malangone was a close friend of Bonanno crime family consigliere and one-time acting boss, Anthony Sparrow. Despite tension between New York's two most powerful crime families, the Genoveses and Gambinos, Malangone was known to be close to the Gambino boss John Gotti and frequently visited with Gotti at his Rave Night social club on Mulberry Street. By the mid to late 1980s, Malangone controlled a significant portion of the Genovese crime family's interests in the Fulton fish market. In 1989, family boss Chen Gigante promoted Malangone, and he worked with Alan Longo, Elio Albanese, Stanley Cohen, Gerardo Guadagno and Carmine Russo. Malangone set up his headquarters in Bay Ridge, Brooklyn at Pastel's nightclub, managed by Michael Rosenbaum. Garbage hauling industry. The New York Mafia has controlled the city's garbage hauling industry since the 1940s, from the days of Anastasia crime family, operated by Albert Anastasia and James Squilland. In 1957 Anastasia was murdered and in 1960 Squilland disappeared, but the Gambino crime family continued to control their portion of the city's garbage rackets through their control of the Association of Trade Waste Removers of Greater New York, overseen by James Fella. Through their cooperation and the creation of various garbage hauling cartels, the Genovese and Gambino crime families wielded near absolute power within New York City's garbage hauling industry. By the 1990s, Malangone was one of the Genovese crime family's most important and powerful members. He was involved in law enforcement surveillance, and frequently met with Michelle Generoso. Malangone was overseer of the crime family's private sanitation rackets through his control of the Bensonhurst, Brooklyn-based Kings County Trade Waste Association and the Greater New York Waste Paper Association. Frank Giovinco also worked at the Greater New York Waste Paper Association as the Genovese crime family's on-site authority. Indictment. Imprisoned on June 22, 1995, Ali Malangone was indicted on charges of controlling New York City's private waste industry through his close associate Frank Giovinco, and transferring huge amounts of money at Ponte Canano Salerno. The indictment resulted from an undercover operation that targeted Malangone and others involved in the New York Mafia-controlled carting cartels, including Angelo Ponte, who headed one of the city's largest and most successful carting firms, V. Ponte & Sons. The law enforcement operation also snared Genovese associates Frank Giovinco, Frank Aloca and Philip Barretti, one of New York City's wealthiest garbage executives. The investigation and subsequent indictments also targeted former garbage czar James Fala and his successor Joseph Francolino. Malangone chose to go to trial, and on October 21, 1997, he was convicted and eventually sentenced to 15 years in prison. He spent his time quietly as a timid elder inmate with minor health issues. His reputation as a mobster from books and spending time eating and playing cards, according to a new Mafia tell-all book about mobsters in prison, and known as the best knock-gin card player. He was released to parole-intensive supervision on April 5, 2010. See also Rosario Ganji. Further reading: Cowan, Rick and Century, Douglas. Takedown. The Fall of the Last Mafia Empire, New York. The Penguin Group, 2002. ISBN 0-425-19299-7. References: Morgie Halls and 17 Untrashed Charges, by Virginia Breen and Corky C. Mazco, New York Daily News. June 23, 1995. When the Mafia Got Greedy, a garbage hauler went undercover, by Selwyn Robb, New York Times. June 9, 1996. Testimony to Start in Trash Carting Trail, by Selwyn Robb, New York Times. May 27, 1997. Two convicted as leaders of New York Trash Cartel, by Selwyn Robb, New York Times. October 22, 1997.